Welcome to our channel. Today I will told you about the top 10 luxury cars. Number 3, Range Rover Sport. A Range Rover Sport review. Completely rebuilt for 2023 is the Land Rover Range Rover Sport 2023. Between the larger Range Rover and the more compact Range Rover Velar, this mid-size luxury SUV is part of the Land Rover series. It has a more angular outward appearance for 2023, an opulent and technologically advanced interior, and a plethora of cutting-edge driver assistance systems. The interior of the Sport is cutting-edge, with a 13.7-inch digital instrument cluster and a curved 13.1-inch infotainment touchscreen. One of the 4 available powerplant options is located under the hood. The most intriguing ones are the plug-in hybrid P440e, which according to Land Rover can go over 50 miles entirely on electricity, and the turbocharged V8 in the P530, which can generate 523 horsepower, for a more heck with MPG experience. With an innovative all-wheel drive system that can decouple the front axle in specific circumstances and a standard air suspension that raises the SUV to give 11.1 inches of ground clearance, the 2023 Range Rover Sport maintains the brand's off-road legacy. The highest trim has a torque vectoring rear axle in addition to four-wheel steering, which reduces turning radius. However, in contrast to its larger Range Rover sibling, the Sport is less concerned with ultimate off-road prowess. Actually, a dual range transfer case is standard on all Range Rovers, although it is an optional feature on the 2 base Range Rover Sport models. Consider the Range Rover Sport to be what its name suggests, a more refined driving, albeit not particularly focused on the road, Range Rover. Alternatives to the Range Rover Sport that are not to be overlooked are the Mercedes-Benz GLE, BMW X5, and Audi Q8. Additionally, there is some overlap in Land Rover's SUV portfolio, therefore, you may find that certain models of the normal Range Rover Velar, or Defender are also suitable for your requirements. For a detailed analysis of the 2019 Range Rover Sport's highlights and shortcomings, see our test team's expert rating. Performance, 7.5 points out of 10. How do you drive a Range Rover Sport? There are several different powertrain options for the Range Rover Sport, ranging from a powerful turbocharged V8 to an economical plug-in hybrid. The mid-level P400 mild hybrid inline-6 engine that powers our test car has sufficient acceleration for a high-end SUV. It took 5.8 seconds to accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour at the Edmonds test track. When not in the aggressive dynamic driving mode, the throttle might seem sluggish, yet, power delivery is smooth, and the engine pulls strongly at high RPMs. The Range Rover Sport isn't particularly athletic when cornering, despite its name. It has no grip, and at comparatively slow speeds, the stability control system kicks in suddenly. The Range Rover Sport leans in corners and dives a little when you apply the brakes because of the softly adjusted suspension. Additionally, the steering of the Range Rover feels less precise than that of its rivals. On the plus side, Land Rover's excellent all-wheel drive system enhances capability, and the adjustable air suspension can be lifted for improved off-road clearance. Coziness, 7.5 points out of 10. How cozy does the Range Rover Sport feel? Anything bearing the Range Rover label is supposed to be comfortable, but the most recent Range Rover Sport falls short of our expectations in this regard. Not that it's uncomfortable, mind you. Both rows of seats feature good support and superb cushioning. Passengers in both rows should adjust their seat back angles as they are changeable in the back. Additionally, it is usually peaceful, with just a little bit of wind and road noise penetrating the cabin. However, ride comfort falls short. With its standard air suspension, we anticipated that the Range Rover Sport would absorb most road irregularities. Not at all. Although potholes and bumps won't rattle your fillings, you nevertheless feel more road noise than you might anticipate from a luxury SUV. The enormous 23-inch wheels on our test vehicle are probably partially to blame. Given their extra sidewall, we advise keeping with the conventional 21-inch wheels. Another disappointment is the climate control system. The AC turns off when the engine's stop-start feature engages at stoplights, and the fans are noisy, despite the ease of use of the controls. Interior, 8 points out of 10. The interior, how is it? The infotainment screen of the Range Rover Sport is big and positioned low enough to not obstruct the view through the windshield. While it's not as responsive as the competitors, the resolution is still clear. Thankfully, Land Rover has excluded the climate controls from the infotainment system, despite the touchscreen interface being the primary input method. To change the temperature, fan speed, or activate the heated seats, two knobs can be rotated, pushed, or pulled. Both rows offer an abundance of space, and the sports air suspension can be adjusted to lower it, making getting in and out simpler. The comparatively narrow roof pillars and upright windows allow for good view in all directions, and the driving posture is commanding and erect. The heated windshield option was installed on our test car. Although it works well in cold conditions, some drivers have reported that the small heating components are distracting. Technology, 8 points out of 10. How is the technology doing? Strong device communication is provided by standard Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. In addition to a wireless charging pad and a few USB-C and USB-A connections spread out over both rows, each provide wireless connectivity. We particularly appreciate how user-friendly the Range Rover Sport's integrated navigation system is. The voice controls aren't as comprehensive or as sensitive to spoken language as those in other high-end SUVs, which is a drawback. Numerous driver assistance features, like as surround view cameras, adaptive cruise control, and blind spot warning, are standard on the Range Rover Sport. The braking and gap holding systems function flawlessly. Neither did we observe any mistakes or needless braking from the emergency systems. Storage, 7.5 points out of 10. What is the state of storage? 31.9 cubic feet of cargo capacity are available in the Range Rover Sport behind the second row. When the 40/20/40 split folding back seats are removed, 53.0 cubic feet of space becomes available. In the class, those are mid-pack figures. Competitors Mercedes and BMW offer greater room in the back. We appreciate that loading and unloading cargo is made easier by the hatches button that lowers the air suspension. There's no need to scurry around looking for manual release handles because a button may also be used to raise or fold the seats. Not as much storage is available up front. The central console's narrow hole restricts what can be placed inside, despite its depth. Furthermore, you need to take the beverages out of the sliding cup holders in order to access the larger bin. We think the design is flawed. Installing and fitting a car seat shouldn't be difficult. Everything is less of a climb thanks to the air suspension and the conveniently located rear anchors. Reliability of fuel, 7 points out of 10. What is the fuel efficiency? Leaving aside the possible plug-in hybrid drivetrain, the Range Rover Sport's combined fuel efficiency is assessed by the EPA to be between 18 and 22 miles per gallon. This depends on the engine you choose. With its estimated 21 miles per gallon combined, the P400 inline-6 powerplant was equipped in our SE Dynamic. That's about what the class average is. We achieved 20.2 miles per gallon on our mixed driving evaluation route, which is a little disappointing considering that most of the cars in our testing met or exceeded their EPA combined estimates. Worth, 7.5 points out of 10. Is there a good deal on the Range Rover Sport? One of the most expensive SUVs available right now is the Range Rover Sport, but be ready to pay for that extravagance. With a minimalistic design and plenty of high-end materials for the center console, doors, and dash trim, the interior feels and looks better than most of the competitors. Nothing about the upholstery feels cheap, and the leather is supple. However, Land Rover charges a higher price for the Range Rover Sport than competitors like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Audi, and others. The competition's standard features are very comparable to R1, but the pricing just can't be beat. A 4-year/50,000 mile basic and powertrain warranty is included with Land Rover vehicles. Rust protection for the Sport is good for 6 years and unlimited mileage. Roadside maintenance for 4 years or 50,000 miles is also included. That's all average, though some brands further provide a few complimentary planned service calls. Wildcard, 7.5 points out of 10. More than ever, the third-generation Range Rover Sport shares styling cues with the full-size Range Rover. While not looking drab, the design is less ostentatious on the inside than that of some competitors. It's buttoned up and neat, not ostentatious with a huge, intimidating grille. The Range Rover Sport retains the premium feel we've been accustomed to over time, even though the Range Rover portfolio as a whole is wider than ever, which takes some of the allure and exclusivity out of the equation. Safety, 5 points out of 10. How safe is the Range Rover Sport? ANCAP, an independent safety tester, has awarded the 2023 Range Rover and 2023 Range Rover Sport 5 stars. After the new Defender, Land Rover's most recent SUVs are the second and third vehicles from the UK automaker to be evaluated under the most recent 2020 to 2022 ANCAP standards. In terms of protecting vulnerable road users, cyclists and pedestrians, the full-size Range Rover received scores of 84% for adult occupant protection, 86% for child occupant protection, 72% for vulnerable road user protection, and 84% for its safety assist technology. As a result of receiving full marks for both its front and side dynamic tests, despite receiving a 5-point deduction for onboard safety features, the vehicle achieved a comparatively high child occupant protection score. However, a mediocre driving experience detracts from its appeal. The Range Rover Sport is one of the most comfortable off-road vehicles available, but the enjoyment of driving on the street is diminished by harsh safety features, numb steering, and soft suspension. Yes, the Sport is a comfy cruiser, but it lacks the daily engagement of its competitors. Frequently asked question: is there an electric or hybrid version of the Range Rover Sport? All-electric Land Rover vehicles are on the horizon, but for now, the Range Rover Sport is only available with mild hybrid and plug-in hybrid, PHEV, engines. Which model of Range Rover Sport is the best? If you drive a business vehicle or are able to charge your car on a regular basis, the plug-in hybrid, PHEV, P460e is a suitable choice for you to maximize your fuel savings. If not, we advise going with the swift and silky D300 diesel with dynamic SE trim. What distinguishes a Range Rover Sport SE from a dynamic SE? In addition to the base SE's stylistic elements, the dynamic SE specification includes dark gray alloy wheels, black brake calipers, and a black inside roof lining. Which is smaller, the Range Rover or the Range Rover Sport? Sure. The gap between the front and rear wheels of the Range Rover Sport and Range Rover is the same, despite the Range Rover Sport being 50 mm lower and 106 mm shorter. Consequently, there's a little less headroom but equivalent legroom. In the end, not the especially sporty features of the updated Range Rover Sport were our favorites. This updated model, on the other hand, is pleasantly smooth and sophisticated. In contrast, the Range Rover Sport excels as a superb luxury SUV rather than being a performance machine. Hope you find this more informative about the luxury car. So guys, meet you soon with the next luxury car video. Like the video and subscribe the channel.